We're going to take a look at adding and subtracting fractions. Now, when you're adding and subtracting fractions, you need to have a common denominator. That means the bottom number of your fraction has to be the same for both fractions. If you haven't got a common denominator, you can't add them. So on our first question here, we've got 2/5 and 3/7. So in order to get a common denominator here, the easiest way to do this is actually to multiply your two bottom numbers. So 5 times by 7 is 35. So I'm going to write out my two new common denominators and put a plus in between. Now to get from that 5 to the 35, we have multiplied by 7. And if you do something to one part of the fraction, you must also do it to the top. So we're also going to have to multiply the top number by 7. So 2 times by 7 is 14. So the first fraction here is 14 over 35 with its new common denominator. On this other side, to get from the 7 to the 35, we multiplied by 5. So 7 times 5 is 35. So we also need to multiply the top number by 5. So 3 times 5 is 15. So we've got 14 over 35 plus 15 over 35. So our answer is going to be over 35. So 14 35ths plus 15 35ths. So all we need to do now is add the two top numbers to find out how many 35ths we have in total. So if we add those up, that will come to 29. Now, you should always simplify your answer if you can. In this case, 29 over 35 can't be simplified. There's nothing divides into 29 and 35. So that will be it in its simplest form, and that's the question completed. So on the next question we've got here, we do exactly the same thing. You need to find a common denominator first. And then once you've done that, instead of adding the two top numbers, you're simply going to subtract the two top numbers. So if you want, you can pause the video now and have a go at that. Otherwise, if you want, for another example, we'll work through this together and then you can try. There's some more questions on the next page. You can try those. So for our common denominator here, we're going to multiply the 7 and the 9 together. So 7 times by 9 is 63. So my new denominator is going to be 63. Put my takeaway in. Make sure that I take away and not add. So to get from our 7 to our 63, this whole fraction here needs to be multiplied by 9, because 7 times by 9 is 63. So I'm going to have to multiply the top also by 9. So 4 times by 9 is 36. And then on this side, to get from the 9 to the 63, we've multiplied by 7. So we need to do 7 times by 1, and 7 times by 1 is 7. So we have 36 out of 63, take away 7 out of 63, so it's still going to be out of 63, and 36 take away 7 is 29. So it's 29 over 63, and again that can't be simplified, so that is your final answer. Okay, so for these questions here, we have we can use a slightly different method for a common denominator, because we can simply change one fraction and use a different common. We could do 3 times by 15 is 45 and make our common denominator 45, and that would be absolutely fine. But another way we could do it is just multiply the third here by 5, because 3 times by 5 is 15. So what we're really doing here is finding the lowest common multiple for 3 and 15, and that is 15. So I'm going to put 15 down here. I'm going to leave the second fraction completely as it is, because it's already out of 15, so that's 7 out of 15. For the first fraction, we need to multiply that all by 5 in order to get out of 15, so 5 times by 1 is 5. So 5 15ths plus 7 15ths makes a total of 12 15ths. 7 plus 5 is 12, and it's out of 15. That can be simplified, so both of those there would divide by 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 15 divided by 3 is 5. So my final answer would be 4/5. And if you take a look at our next question as well, again, you could probably find a slightly smaller common denominator than if you multiply 9 by 6. 9 times by 6 is 54. Now, if you went with 54, so 54 and 54, so we'll be multiplying this one here all by 6, and we're multiplying this one here all by 9 in order to make our common denominator 54, and remember we're taking away. So 6 eighths is 48, and 9 ones is 9, and we take that away, so 48 to take away 9 is 39 out of 54, and then we need to simplify that. So we would check what it divides by, and in this case it both divides by 3. 39 divided by 3 is 13, and 54 divided by 3 is 18. So your simplified answer would be 13 over 18. Now, there is another way to do this sum. So I'll just take that away. And we could actually have a lower common denominator, because 9 and 6 both are, if you think about the lowest common multiple, so 9 times by 2 is 18, and 6 times by 3 is 18. So we could have a common denominator of 18, which means to get from 9 to 18, we're multiplying this by 2. And to get from 6 to 18, we're multiplying this fraction here by 3. So 2 times by 8, 2 eighths is 16. 3 times by 1 is 3. And then if we take that away, 16 take away 3 is 13 over 18. Both ways you're going to end up with the same answer, so it's up to you whether you go with the lowest common multiple or if you just multiply the two denominators together in order to get your common denominator, but then you need to make sure that you simplify. A couple of exam questions for you here now. So with 2/3 plus 1/5, pause the video now, have a wee go at these yourself, and then whenever you've tried them, unpause the video and we can work through it together. Alright, so this first one, 2/3 and 1/5. So the lowest common multiple for both of those would be just 15. So if we multiply the two bottoms together, 3 times 5 is 15. So I'm going to write in my 15. And plus, so to get the first fraction from 2/3 up to 15, so to get from 3 to 15, we're multiplying by 5. So 2 5s is 10. And to get from 5 to 15, we're multiplying by 3. So 1 times by 3 is 3. So our top numbers are 10 and 3 now. Add those together, so 10 plus 3 is 13. So we've now got 13 15ths. Those can't be simplified, so that is your answer. It's 13 over 15. Okay, our next one's a takeaway. And for these two denominators, 12 and 6, well, we can simply, instead of multiplying them together, we could simply multiply this one by 2, because 6 times 2 will give us 12. So the first fraction remains as is, 11 over 12. Take away, so we're going to double this second fraction up to make it out of 12 as well. So that would be 2 5s is 10, and 2 6s is 12. 10 12ths take away, 11 12ths take away 10 12ths, leaves you with 1 12th. And that obviously can't be simplified, so it's 1 over 12 is your final answer.